Hey, this is Otacon. You're listening to This Week in Geek with Mike the Birdman Dodd and the rest of the TWIG crew, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. Are you listening? Snake? Snake? Snake!
Who disrupts my coronation?
Everyone has been destroyed because of this freak! I won't allow it! These babies just saved this lame fest party!
What's going on? You are listening to This Week in Geek. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman Dodd, but as you can probably guess, I'm actually alone this week. Oh, so god terribly alone. But that's okay. My co-host Alex is off this week. He's actually with his mom this week celebrating her birthday, so he is off in the great land of Kitchener enjoying his time with Mama Rishi. So I do wish B the best on this most glorious of days. And perhaps today is not a good day to die, as the old Klingon saying goes. But you are stuck with me this week, and as you guys know, if you've been a long fan of TWIG over the last 13 years, I actually used to do this show solo for several years, though I would occasionally have co-hosts come in, so it's not unusual to hear me do a few shows solo per year, kind of to give people a rest. So Alex most definitely has done his work, as he does all the TWIG kind of back-end stuff, does all the posting, and it's looking pretty good. So, this show should be, well, it'll probably run the typical length that it does, because it's Mike, and he never shuts up, so that's kind of what you have to expect this week. Of course, I have a lot of news, reviews. I'm going to have a look at the new Twilight Zone series, which has been released on Bluray. I'll be looking at the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay game from Cubible 7, and I will also be looking at, I think it's a video game review from Alex, and that will be following much later in the show. But as I often do off the top of the show, I like to talk about what has been going on in my week, such as it has been. And as you guys know, I've been talking a lot about my weight loss journey, which began way back in early January. We are now in the month of March, and I am 8 weeks into this thing, and I got news from the surgical team, slash the clinic team that I'm currently working with, that I'm going to be weighed soon, and I don't quite know what to expect from that. The math, how it's supposed to work out, is I should be losing between like 8 to 10 pounds per week, given the calories that I'm assigned with the dietary drink that I have been given, known as OptiFast. And I have been allowed a few concessions, like I'm allowed to have like hard-boiled eggs and stuff like that every other day, and I can have pickles because they're so remarkably low in calories. So like, who cares? You can have a pickle or you can have a Tic Tac. Well, which one do you think I went with? Yummy, yummy, yummy pickles. So it's been going pretty good. Plus, I'm pretty much convinced I am the spirit incarnate of the basic white bitch, because I have so many skinny syrups in my kitchen. It looks like a Starbucks basically exploded in there. In fact, I kind of wonder if Starbucks actually makes skinny syrups, or if I could perhaps get a hold of them. But they probably don't. They're probably loaded with sugar anyway. But anyway, I'm diabetic. Oh yeah, I also got some good news from the doctor regarding that. As you guys know, I'm diabetic. Hence the whole amputation thing. But got some news back from my doctor, my endocrinologist. My sugars are friggin' great. So that's some really, really good news. So medically, the Birdman's doing okay. I mean, other than the whole can't walk thing. But I'm looking forward to this. I'm on a good path, and if it means if I don't get the numbers that I want after the weigh-in, it just means I have to continue the path a little bit longer, do not stray from it, and just keep moving continually forward. That's the big thing I've kind of come to realize with this, is I'm going to beat this entire thing through force of will and the tools that I've been given. Because just because you get the weight loss surgery doesn't mean you're automatically going to be successful. I have watched a shit ton of my 600-pound life in the past few weeks, and I used to be against that show like you wouldn't believe, and it's amazing just to see the problems that I see recur in some people, because I hang in some Facebook groups related to this, and I see a lot of the same problems repeated. Although seeing it on the screen, you can head the behavior off of the past and stop it. So as long as you don't eat, as I put it, like an asshole, you can do this. So it's about being consistent, it's about being truthful and authentic to yourself. So that's pretty cool. So enough about my health update. Something kind of neat that I've been doing. So over the course of the last little bit, I have been marathoning the Harry Potter series. I recently came into my possession the director's cuts of the Harry Potter movies, and I'm going through them again with my wife Blair for the first time pretty much since they came out. I've seen most of them in theaters within like opening week or weekend, and it's been a really, really fun experience going through these movies again. I really think Warner Brothers, or whoever owns it now, I think it's like Universal or somebody, did a fantastic job with these, and I haven't read the books yet, though I am looking to do that at some point this year, so maybe I'll buy them for like my like iPad or something, because I don't have like a Kindle or a Kobo or whatever you people read books on these days, because I'm typically just not I'm not a book reader per se. I mean, though my roleplay books would suggest otherwise. So yeah, it's been a really fun experience. Right now, we're just going to be starting, hopefully tonight, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, which is the 5th movie. And that's the one where we get the Dragon Ball Z beam battle between like Voldemort and like Dumbledore. So that'll be pretty neat. In addition to that, my wife knows this because, so through a set of circumstances, as you guys know on the show, I've talked about this. I am terrible with keeping secrets. I just friggin' suck. It doesn't happen. So me and my wife's anniversary, and we have 2 anniversaries per year. And this one's going to sound weird because I'm a sentimental fool, more or less. Me and Blair first started dating on March 11th, back in 2007. So I consider our anniversary to be March 11th, and then our wedding anniversary is the 24th. Or is it the 23rd? I don't know. It's one or the other. One's her birthday. That's how I don't forget either of them. Though I just did, so that is a false demonstration of my remembering ability. But anyway, so over the course of the last little bit, I've been putting together her anniversary gift, and it has been Harry Potter themed. And they might saying, Mike, why are you telling this? Can she not hear you? Well, yeah, probably. She's in the other room taking a nap. But no, I went to get her a gift. Or rather, she had to go pick up a gift that was for her, but she wasn't supposed to know what it was. And I went to great lengths to tell this person, okay, please wrap it so they can't tell what it is. I will pay you, whatever. And after a whole song and dance, sure, she went to go pick it up, and this should have gone off flawlessly. And as you can probably guess, it did not go flawlessly. She saw the name on the outside of the package. It said her name. Cool. Then it said what the package was. It said wand. And I'm thinking, you stupid motherfucker. So, yeah. She knows the theme of her anniversary gift. She doesn't know the contents of it yet. Though when everything is all said and done, I'll probably post it to my Facebook or maybe on Twitter or something, or she'll post it anywhere. Maybe you'll see it on my Instagram. But I am incredibly proud of this. I will say this. This is my master stroke in terms of being a husband. And I hope to be the example to others can follow at some point. Then we're just spending a lot more time together, and I find that's been really helpful for my mental health. We're gonna do an entire watch through of the Doctor Who series, starting all the way back, well, not in the 60s, because Jesus Christ, we wouldn't be to the current series until like 2029. No, we're gonna like start with Christopher Eccleston, and then we're going to go right up to Jodie Whittaker, because as of this recording today, literally right now, the series just ended its third season, or second season with her, so that's cool. So that's something to look forward to. But speaking of things to look forward to in this show, got a lot of news to talk about that happened around the world this past week in the world of geek, nerd, and dork. But I will deliver that to you in addition to the weird news you have come to expect here from us here on This Week in Geek. So like I said, some of the reviews you'll be looking forward to today is the Twilight Zone, and that's the 2019 series hosted and produced by Jordan Peele. And that comes to us from Paramount Home Entertainment. We'll also be looking at Warhammer Fantasy Role-Playing, coming to us from Cubicle 7, and a special surprise from Alex. So we will be back right here on This Week in Geek, right after this review from Alex himself. We'll be back, guys, right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Azur Lane Crosswave is the newest release from our friends at Idea Factory International, and I had a chance to check out both the PlayStation 4 and the Steam version to see if there were major differences. And I don't have a super high-end computer for comparison, but it is more powerful than the PS4 in its standard state. So the experience was roughly the same. There's more options to change on the Steam version, obviously, when it comes to graphical settings. But overall, I had a pretty good experience with both. Frame rates were roughly the same. It doesn't matter if you play it on the PlayStation 4 or your Steam PC. If your PC's adequate enough, you're going to have a pretty good experience. Now, what is Azur Lane? It was a mobile app game originally created in China in 2017 for iOS and Android platforms. It hit pretty critical acclaim when it went to Japan, and it had about 5 million players, because I had to do some research on this because I hadn't heard of it. But it hit about 5 million players, in 4 months, which is pretty good in this, saturated mobile market, especially over in Asia. Now, what they've done is they've brought it to the consoles, and they've been able to, update it using the newest Unreal Engine, and uses like 3D cel-shaded graphics, a whole bunch of extra graphical intensities that wasn't available at the mobile platform. So it's a side-scrolling shooter, the original like Azur Lane, and what they've done now with this Crosswave version, it brings it to like a fully 3D world, whereas before it was very sort of linear 2D. It's you can see some comparisons online side by side. It's a pretty significant upgrade in visual quality. Now, there are a bunch of different modes to play in this game, and some better than others, but nothing, super crazy. It is a fun game to pick up and play. You can play for 10-15 minutes at a time. You don't need to have like long stretches of play. But overall, it's pretty good. As far as is it worth like a full retail price? If you're a fan of anime shooter fighting sort of style games, then yeah, sure, go ahead, give it a watch. Check out a trailer first to determine whether or not you're going to like it. But I had a pretty good time. The controls are pretty tight. I had no issues with frame rate drops or like audio glitches or anything or freezing. So on both platforms, it was pretty good. So if you're into, this style of thing, I do like that they're starting to bring some of these games that were like Asian exclusive on mobile platforms and translating them into English and bringing them to consoles and, sort of enhancing them as best they can and stripping out some of the stuff that might not have worked in the aspect ratios and all that sort of stuff that wouldn't have worked if you had brought it over, as a straight port. So overall, pretty good. I hope Idea Factory does more of these with this style. So that's Azur Lane Crosswave.
News on the mark!
All right, so let's dive into the news that happened around the entertainment and the world of geekery this past week. And of course, one of the biggest news stories that happened to hit the interweb last week is Disney's CEO, Bob Iger, the guy who's been with the company for like forever, is going to be stepping down as Disney's CEO and assume the role of executive chairman. And this was announced early last week. So Bob Chapek, who most recently served as chairman of Disney Parks, Experiences and Products, will assume the role of CEO effective immediately, Disney announced. Chapek will continue to report to Iger and will be appointed to the board of directors at a later date. Shares of Disney, though, however, fell about 2.5% after hours. In an interview with CNBC's Julia Borstein, after Disney's announcement, Iger said the CEO reporting structure is a way to ensure a smooth transition. We're not concerned at all about creating any confusion, Iger said of the statement. Iger will remain the executive chairman of Disney through the end of 2021, according to the company. Iger had been planning his succession for a while, saying at the Disney Investor Day last year that 2021 will be the time for me to finally step down. Iger has been CEO of Disney since 2005. He'd pushed back his retirement several times in recent years, and Tuesday's succession announcement came as a surprise. On a call with investors shortly after the announcement, Iger addressed the timing of his announcements, which happened 22 months before he was expected to retire at the end of 2021. Iger said he decided to step down now because he wanted to focus on the creative side now that the major projects like the Fox merger and the launch of Disney Plus were behind him. Iger said he would be able to help Chapek into the role while serving as executive chairman. With everything else falling into place, the time seemed right, Iger said. Iger has been instrumental in making Disney a media powerhouse with key acquisitions and content plays. He launched Disney Plus, immediately making Disney a popular streaming service provider. Disney said the service has had 26.5 million paying subscribers during the first quarter of 2020 after launching in November. And that's pretty awesome. I mean, he also recently acquired the Disney's $71 billion acquisition of Fox a while back. Earlier, he added Star Wars and Marvel, the Lucasfilm stuff, and all of that was like $4 billion a piece or something shortly to that. Shortly into his tenure, Iger announced Disney's $7.4 billion acquisition of Pixar Animation Studios, the guys who made like Toy Story, Finding Nemo, and all that sort of stuff. Iger also launched the Shanghai theme park, further expanding the footprint of Disney. He also says, with the successful launch of Disney's direct-to-consumer businesses and the integration of 20th Century Fox well underway, I believe this is the optimal time to transition to a new CEO, Iger said in a statement alongside the announcement. I think this has probably been a long time coming, and considering the massive string of like home runs Iger has hit in his career, like if you're going to go out, now is a hell of a time to step down. I mean, Star Wars is essentially wrapping up. Like, the Skywalker saga is done, although they've announced Star Wars The High Republic, though we don't know a whole hell of a lot about that beyond, like, a comic book series, and we know there's going to be movies or something. The Mandalorian's doing well, and that's under, like, I think Kathleen Kennedy has some creative input, but mostly Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are taking care of that, so don't worry about that. Marvel has Kevin Feige, don't worry about him. They have all these major things done. Like I said, 20th Century Fox has now been acquired, so those are all new properties that could be overseen. I think there's talk of like a new Home Alone. I think there's talk of a new Alien. Like, there is so much stuff in the pipeline and so much stuff behind him. Iger's like, you know what? Cool. I can just peace out. Call me on my cell. Right? I mean, he basically just gets paid to go into an office and people just say yes, no, or hey, Bob, do you think this is cool? I mean, I don't know what an executive chairman does. Probably just sits there and looks nice in a suit. So, you know what? I mean, the shares falling a couple of points, big deal. I mean, obviously that's still money to somebody, but that's probably just investors going, oh shit. So I'm happy for him. I mean, Bob, you've certainly done your job since 2005. No one can ever accuse you of not doing that. So I think Disney is going to be in a really powerful place. as time moves forward. I'm hoping Disney does expand upon what it's doing, because I know they want to do more with their parks. Because I know we're supposed to get like the Avengers Academy or some kind of a Marvel experience in the next little bit. Galaxy's Edge will continue to expand. And I know like the big talk right now is the coronavirus, or COVID-19 as I think it's known now. Obviously a big concern, but they've closed like Disney Tokyo and other things right now, and that's hurting things, but Disney's going to see their way through this no matter what, because money's the juggernaut. You really can't stop. Literally, it's the juggernaut, bitch. So what are you going to do? Things I'd like to see from Disney. I hope they continue to improve their back catalog for Disney Plus. Disney Plus, if I've noticed anything, has a lot of really weird technical problems, and they're not huge. They're not ones that are gonna break the service, but they're weird. Like, I went back and watched The Empire Strikes Back a little while ago, and the movie was in English, and that's fine, but the opening crawl was in French. I don't get that, and they're not Netflix level yet. Like, their back end just isn't as well designed, from what I can tell. And if I had Alex here, I'm sure he'd tell me with his Google foo, or his knowledge of advanced computer stuff, which as far as I'm concerned, computers run on magic. Much like Harry Potter. And that would be a major point for me, is just Disney's continual improvement, and also making sure that their legacy franchises continue forward, but also developing ones that they have under their belt. I don't think A New Home Alone is the end of the world. Should it be a reimagined Kevin McAllister? Probably not. But take the idea of Home Alone and do it again. That's fine. I mean, Home Alone 3 and 4, I think there was a fifth one too. The third one was okay. I mean, it really wasn't terrible. The fourth one was friggin' stupid. But whatever. But a new Alien movie, yes. That's a franchise that should not sleep. Because you look at other franchises from around that time, like Terminator, Dark Fate, for example, didn't do so hot. And that used to be a Fox property, I think, if I remember right. And that got shuffled off to like Paramount. So, you know, whatever. I mean, just don't let your Predator and Alien franchises go to waste. I mean, Die Hard, I know there's been talk of a new one for years, but it keeps getting scrapped and whatever else with a young John McClane, because Bruce Willis don't care. I mean, good old Bruno, I'm pretty much sure he just does stuff for fun now, because he doesn't need to work. He just does it because he wants to. And whatever makes you happy, dude, I'm obviously thrilled for you, but John McClane can deserve a rest. And if you want to give us a new one where he's a cop in the 1980s or in the 70s, I'm fine with that. All right, so moving on to our next bit of news. This one I'm really excited for, tremendously. So the guys who made the Deep Space Nine documentary, I think it was called What We Leave Behind. It was in theaters a couple of years back, and it got released on Blu-ray a while back as well. They've announced there's going to be a Voyager 25th anniversary documentary. So David Zappone, the producer behind the documentaries, such as the Captain's, Chaos on the Bridge, and For the Love of Spock, in addition to What We Left Behind, made the announcements on Twitter on Friday. I asked people if they were interested in seeing a 25th anniversary of Star Trek Voyager documentary, and the answer, resounding yes. Happy to announce that we kick off filming on the Star Trek cruise. So I imagine that'll people like Ethan Phillips, Tim Russ, Robert Duncan McNeil, whoever they can get a hold of, because pretty much everyone from the Voyager cast is working in some capacity in Hollywood. Obviously, they'll talk to Captain Janeway, whose real name escapes me right now. That's really, really going to bother me. Red from Orange is the New Black. Why can't I... Kate Mulgrew. Of course they're going to talk to her, because I think the Voyager cast, as far as I'm concerned, seems the most approachable. Because I see Garrett Wong on Twitter a lot. I've got Tim Russ on my Facebook. And just all of them seem cool. I mean, Robert Picardo, when I talked with him, was a really nice interview. Ethan Phillips seems like a really nice guy. Yeah, I mean, I could see them maybe having problems talking with the woman who played Kess. I can't remember her name. I can see it in my head, but I can't remember it. I know she's had some problems, and hopefully they'll leave that out of the documentary, because, you know, you don't need to draw attention to that. Maybe make a passing mention saying she hasn't been doing so hot, but, you know, treat it with respect. So Voyager's 25th anniversary was on January 16th, 1995. And the last episode aired on May 23rd, 2001. The series won 33 awards in its 7 years, including 7 Primetime Emmys. The story even had material impact on Star Trek Picard with episode 5. I think it was called Star City Rag or something like that, which they brought back Seven of Nine and Icheb. So that's kind of cool. They're probably going to film all throughout this year, so probably expect stuff at Comic-Con, the major convention in Las Vegas. So you probably wouldn't see this movie for at least a year at the earliest. I just want them to do a really, really good job with this. I hope we see interview clips posted sooner as opposed to later, because I know with a big documentary I was a fan of, not the same team, when I watched In Search of Darkness with David Weiner. He posted interview clips as he was going, and you'd get a minute here, a minute there. So to talking with some of these cast members would be great. Also to talk with some of the writers, special effects people. Yeah, I mean, Star Trek Voyager, as you guys know, on our sister show, Future Imperfect, with Steve and Alex, I love me Voyager. Voyager is more my Star Trek. And the reason that is because I was there at the beginning. Yes, I like TNG. TNG and I started in the 7th grade with my teacher, Mr. Collins, loaning me some of the Star Trek tapes. But my friend Wayne kind of telling me about it, and he loaned me the episode Best of Both Worlds, where I saw the Borg for the first time. And I'm thinking, holy shit, robots in Star Trek, and they can do things to you? I just thought that was incredibly cool. But Voyager, I remember watching it when it premiered on TV, because I used to watch a channel up here in Ontario called CKNX before it was rebranded as the new NX. And it was broadcasted of I think it was called Wingham at that time. And I just really, really got into it. And I grew with the series as it went, and I'd always watch it on Saturday nights. The channel never came in super clear, because living out in the middle of fuck nowhere, that's just not how it happens. So watching the series as it went, I really just became connected to these people. And when I first moved back to my small town in the middle of fuck nowhere, I watched the entirety of Voyager from start to finish, and every garbage episode that there was, but there were some great ones sprinkled in there, like Scorpion, Future's End, the one with the Time War with the Krenim with fucking Red Foreman, Endgame 1 and 2. Yeah, there were just some great eps, and I love Jerry Ryan. I like Robert Picardo. The episode Someone to Watch Over Me is one of my favorites. And it's just a show that I love, and I've always loved. So seeing a documentary, I'm really looking forward to it. The team behind this will do a fantastic job, because I like the Captains one, but What We Left Behind was better, more refined. So really looking forward to this. So thank you. Really, really hyped for this. Speaking of hype, this story comes to us courtesy of superherohype.com. So Paramount Pictures has announced that Snake Eyes, the spin-off movie, has wrapped production. So after more than 4 months, filming has wrapped on Paramount's upcoming reboot of the G.I. Joe franchise. Henry Golding took to Instagram to share that the Snake Eyes solo film has completed principal photography. Additionally, he posted an Instagram of the rather minuscule clapperboard from the movie set. You can see a picture of it where I'm looking, whoopee-doo. The movie began shooting in Vancouver back in October. Eventually, production moved to Japan at the beginning of the year, presumably for scenes for him being a ninja. The film presumably will depict Snake Eyes' origin story that will include his friendship with Storm Shadow, with ultimately turn into a bitter rivalry. Earlier this month, Golding shared another image of himself in character, ascending a stone staircase leading to a temple on the movie's Japanese set. In the pic, he was unmasked, but also dressed in traditional ninja garb. However, now that filming is done, it's perhaps only a matter of time before Paramount releases an official still of Golding wearing Snake Eyes' famous costume. In addition, Golding's protagonist, the spinoff, will also feature a handful of fan-favorite G.I. Joe characters. Supporting cast includes Andrew Koji as Storm Shadow, Samara Weaving as Scarlet, Ursula Corbello as the Baroness, and Robert, can't pronounce this guy's last name, will direct the film with a script written by another guy whose name is impossibly long. The movie will open on October 23rd, so just after my birthday this year. I think this will actually be pretty cool. I'm a big fan of the Storm Shadow character and the relationship he has with Snake Eyes. I first read, I think it was Devil's Due Publishing, had the rights to this years ago, so I imagine this has probably been retconned and changed since. But just the story of them growing up as like brothers in the same ninja clan, and how one went to Cobra, one went to the Joes, and I just thought it was incredibly neat to see that kind of rivalry and friendship turn into something much, much worse, despite them coming from the same place. And I want to say, like, I think in Retaliation, the Rizzo played the Hard Master or something. I can't remember. I don't imagine this has any relation to the other G.I. Joe movies. If anything, this is probably a soft reboot, but it should be pretty cool. I mean, it's going to be friggin' ninjas. It's not Ray Park doing the stuff, which I'm pretty sure he didn't like the first two G.I. Joe movies. So whatever. It should be fun and exciting. And my cat Ayla is on her tummy looking at me with her snaggletooth. Ayla, that's right. Go to bed, cat. Don't look at me. It's weird. I use that to giddy. But yeah, I mean, Storm Shadow should be pretty kick-ass. We'll probably see a trailer by like Comic-Con. They would be stupid not to. Considering, actually, I'm kind of surprised we didn't see something out at Toy Fair, which was like last weekend, with like unofficial still or something, because they did announce the new G.I. Joe classified figures, and they have a really cool looking Snake Eyes figures there. People aren't happy with the line. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see a re-release of the 3.5-inch line, or at least the vehicles. I only have one G.I. Joe vehicle left from all the stuff I had to sell to get my manual wheelchair. I have a complete, I think it's 1986 or 87, Night Raven, which is the Cobra vehicle that's based on the SR-71 Blackbird. A friend of mine even sent me the pilot Wild Weasel. So it's complete. I've got all the missiles. I have all the guns that are normally missing, the fins, the landing gear, everything. I would call it a solid 8 out of 10. And it's just one of the vehicles I always wanted as a kid. I had it once. I got it at a garage sale for like $5. Never did complete it. And then my roommate Shannon and her then boyfriend Sean brought it to me like years ago and said, Mike, if you want it, you can have it. And then Blair's like, well, why don't you finish it? And it took me like 3 years, but I bought the pieces piece by piece off of eBay, or friends would find them for me at parts things at like toy shows. And now I have a fully restored Night Raven. So it was a piece of work, and it was kind of fun. So this next story, and I think this is my last major news story that I want to talk about this week. So this one comes courtesy of Ars Technica, and I'm going to read it as best I can. So First Amendment doesn't apply to YouTube. Judge rejects PragerU lawsuit. YouTube can restrict PragerU videos because it is a private forum, court rules. YouTube is a private forum and therefore not subject to free speech requirements under the First Amendment, a U.S. appeals court ruled today. Despite YouTube's ubiquity and its role as a public-facing platform, it remains a private forum, not a public forum subject to judicial scrutiny under the First Amendment, the court said. ProggerU, a conservative media company, sued YouTube in October 2017, claiming the Google-owned video site unlawfully censored its educational videos and discriminated against its right to freedom of speech. ProggerU said YouTube reduced its viewership and revenue with arbitrary and can't pronounce that word, use of restricted mode and demonetization viewer restriction filters. ProgU claimed it was targeted by YouTube because of its political identity and viewpoint as a non-profit that that espouses conservative viewpoints on current and historical events. But a U.S. District Court judge dismissed ProggerU's lawsuit against Google and YouTube, and a 3-judge panel at the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit upheld the dismissal in a unanimous ruling today. ProggerU's claim that YouTube censored ProggerU's speech faces a formidable threshold hurdle. YouTube is a private entity. The free speech clause of the First Amendment prohibits the government, not a private party, from abridging speech, the judge wrote. ProggerU claimed that Google's regulation and filtering of the video content on YouTube's is state action subject to scrutiny under the First Amendment. While Google is obviously not a government agency, ProggerU pointed to a previous appeals court ruling to support his claim that the regulation of speech by a private party in a designated public forum is quintessentially and exclusively and traditionally public function, sufficient to establish that a private party is a state actor under the First Amendment. ProggerU claims that YouTube is a public forum because of YouTube invites the public to use the site to engage in freedom of expression, because YouTube representatives called the site a public forum for free speech in testimony before Congress. So I'm by no means a legal expert, but I know shit when I see it, and yeah, it's true. Google is privately owned. It's not owned by the government. It's not government funded. Maybe they get a grant here and there. Maybe. I doubt it. I don't know. Alex would know. Yeah, sorry, it's not protected by free speech. Like, literally, fuck off. And I don't know anything about these ProggerU people, but I have seen, and it's no secret on this show, guys, I lean pretty left. I've seen some pretty hateful conservative shit on there. Like, I'm talking like Alex Jones InfoWars type weird. And I'm not surprised, and I think the appeals court is absolutely right. Like, sorry, dude, it's government. It's not run by the government. A private company owns this. Your rules do not apply here, sir. Good day, sir. You lose. No fizzy lifting drink for you. And they did right. I mean, yeah, maybe there should be a conversation held about free speech, and maybe the U.S. Constitution maybe needs to be updated, as it is like a really, really old document. I mean, don't get me started about gun rights, but that's a conversation that I'm just not getting into today. But as it applies to free speech, yes, everybody should have the right to an opinion. But if you're a racist asshole, or if you're twisting facts, but then again, what are facts, right? History is written by the victors. So, I don't know. I mean, I think they made the right decision because, as I understand the letter of the law, yes. But what do you guys think? Feedback at ThisWeekInGeek.net. Yeah, because Google is pretty much a public forum that everybody uses to have their own views. But by agreeing to Google's terms of service, they can do what they want. And if you get demonetized, Google is using its resources to give you money. And I'm not seeing a lot of conflict of interest here. If you don't want to play by the rules, you can take your ball and fuck right off. So, anyway, that's what I have to say on this particular edition of the Nerd News. So coming up right now, we're going to listen to my review of Jordan Peele's The Twilight Zone, coming to us from Paramount Home Entertainment.
You're traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition. And and it lies between the pit of one's fears and the summit of one's knowledge. You are now traveling through a dimension of imagination. You just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
We are looking at The Twilight Zone, coming to us from Paramount Home Entertainment. This series is available on Blu-ray. Well, The Twilight Zone has been one of my favorite anthology shows for quite some time. I grew up watching reruns, I want to say on the Sci-Fi Channel, maybe it was Space, I don't know. Either way, I remember watching a lot of the black and white ones as a kid growing up, and growing up, I did acquire them through less than ideal methods at one point. But now I'm really glad the series has been relaunched under Jordan Peele. This guy has done some fantastic work in the film space in the last couple years. And this series really holds to the ideal of the Rod Serling originals from the 50s and 60s. You get 10 episodes here in the first season. You also get the option to watch the episodes in black and white on separate discs, so you getting the highest possible fidelity here. You get some really, really neat stories here. The pilot, which is called The Comedian, which follows a guy who basically gets his wish to become really, really popular. But in order to do that, whenever he tells a joke about somebody or something, it goes away forever, but he has to have a personal connection to it. So he tells a joke about his dog, and suddenly he doesn't have a dog anymore. Or he tells a joke about his nephew, suddenly his nephew stops existing. And eventually he starts to figure out how his power works, and he goes on like a rampage by anybody who's ever crossed him and wronged him. But as he does this, the world starts to change around him, and eventually it takes his toll. And I won't tell you how it ends, because it's really, really poetic, because the Twilight Zone's always known by giving you those twist endings to things, and it's really, really good, the pilot. Other episodes, they kind of do a remake of the William Shatner one, like Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. This one features one of the guys from Parks and Rec, and he's listening to a podcast, and it's telling him what happens over the course of over the next 45 minutes. The plane will crash. Nobody knows what happens. The flight, blah, 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 blah. And it ends on like a twist, and you're like, holy shit. Another really cool one kind of deals with like what happens when you elect a moron or someone who's rather impulsive to office by using the power of being able to sell and persuasion. Sometimes that's not the best way to do things. And there's another one which kind of involves limited time travel, but also speaks about racism and prejudice. And I really like that one. It involves a black family going off to college, and they keep running into this cop who's a racist. For whatever reason, he finds a way to hurt and kill the son. And the mom has this magic camcorder that as long as she hits rewind, she can change the events. And no matter what she does, something happens. And it's incredibly well done. Like, a lot of these episodes are just really well done. And to speak about the special features here, there are like a lot. There's like a 40-minute documentary or retrospective on Rod Serling as well. And it really got me looking into him. So I started reading about him on Wikipedia. And I'm thinking, wow, you said a lot of really, really neat stuff. There's also stuff that goes into the production of how they did everything. There's like these little mini featurettes for like each episode. They're very, very, very short, but they are there. People who worked on this show worked on The X-Files. In fact, the one episode which involves Stephen Yeun from The Walking Dead, the guy that played Glenn, the guy who directed that episode, I think it was like Glenn Morgan, who was a guy on The X-Files. So that was really neat. And of course, friggin' aliens. So this box set is worth it. I mean, I really, really, really like it. The thing is, with the Twilight Zone series, I didn't hear a lot of people talking about it, which is so weird. Like, I heard about it coming out on like Amazon, or not Amazon, on like YouTube, and then nobody talked about it. for like ever. And it just kind of blew my mind that it got like no advertising whatsoever. So like, it bothers me because I think shows like this are important because it does show like a story that's relevant to what's going on in the world today, but spoken through a sci-fi or a fantastic lens. Like Rod Serling stuff was groundbreaking. You cannot deny that, the power of that television. And this series, while maybe not as groundbreaking as it once was back then, because the 60s and all that were a much different time in the medium of television, now in 2020, this series has the potential to do that again because filmmaking techniques have come, like directors are up and coming, there are good directors working in TV, great actors are willing to lend their talents to it. Like the episode where there's basically little kid Trump or the alien immigration episode are great examples of what's going on in America right now. I think it's fantastic. Like, I did not expect this series to be this good. So, honestly, you should do yourself a favor. Check out The Twilight Zone Season 1, available on Blu-ray. You can find it on Amazon.ca for about $53, and I think it's worth it. You should really pick this up. If you enjoy good sci-fi television, you're gonna like this.
What makes you qualified to be a reporter? I'm willing to violate anyone's privacy for my personal gain and then claim with a straight face that the public has a right to know.
By the hand of Zeus, what manner of deviltry is this?
I love fake alien poop day.
It's kind of weird to come back from me to me. That's right, I'm still Mike the Birdman Dodd. You are still listening to This Week in Geek. What are you doing with your life? Holy shit. This is the weird news. From the strange, the bizarre, the just plain fucked up things that happened on the planet this week, it's my turn to talk about the strange, the unusual, and of course, I want to hit you with something right in the feels, because hey, I'm a glutton for punishment, and I get to talk about food for a few minutes. And this one kind of strikes me as like, why would you charge people for this? But hey, it's a fast food giant, what are you going to do? People will pay it, why the hell not? But you could essentially make this by yourself if you were so inclined. So Burger King has come a really long way. I mean, they have the Impossible Whopper, which I haven't tried, unfortunately, but I hear it's that meat-based, or it's that vegetable-based meat or whatever. It's saltier than a Whopper, but it pretty much tastes the same, whatever. Less cruelty to the animals, yay. But point of the matter is, so Burger King is introducing the Chip Buddy, a patty-less sandwich with french fries, mayo, and ketchup wedged between two buns. So carbs upon carbs upon carbs upon sugar. The inspiration behind the new sandwich came from a happy culinary accident with one of its chain's chefs. Burger King has chefs. According to a message Burger King New Zealand posted to its Facebook page earlier this month. With that accident, it came to the idea for the Chip Buddy and the Chip Buddy with bacon. It's only available in New Zealand for customers right now for $2 or $1.27 USD, and it's unclear if it will make its way to other markets in the future. Well, while this concept is new to Burger King, the patty-less sandwich is not a new one. Chip Buddies have been around for years and are commonly found at fish and chip shops across the United Kingdom and Ireland. Ingredients include mayonnaise, ketchup, cheese, hot sauce, malt vinegar, depending on your preference. Wendy's decided to troll these people, and they decided to tweet at them when literally anything would be better on a bun than their beef. Which, wow, coming out swinging hard, man, they're throwing hands. And that's the thing, I love Burger King Whoppers. If I had to choose, honestly, a Whopper is my top tier hamburger. It goes Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's. And in order of burgers, it's a Whopper, though I've never had a double Whopper. Whopper, double quarter pounder with cheese. The Big Mac is okay. And the Baconator or the bacon mushroom melt or the Swiss mushroom melt from Wendy's. But anyway, to the Chip Buddy, yes. I've actually known about the Chip Buddy since the 90s. And I'm not saying that because I'm some friggin' genius. I'm not. I know this because of Earthworm Jim 2. The Earthworm Jim 2 had a power-up called the Chip Buddy, and it describes it in the book as a French fry sandwich. And it seems so weird that they try to frame it as this culinary accident. It's like, no, man, literally, it's like, hey, what do you think we can get away with charging people? And literally, I would love to see the nutrition information on this, because I'm looking at this thing right now, and it's probably the equivalent of like a small fry shoved between two hamburger buns, and that has got to be like at least 400-ish calories, but it's nothing but carbs. So, but hey, for $1.27, I guess if you're poor, or if you just really want French fry on a bun, you can't go wrong with this. I mean, I don't know how successful it's going to be. I imagine this will be a fairly limited time thing, but honestly, you could go to your local Burger King right now, and if I wanted to do this, this is how I'd do it. I would get a small fry, but it has to be piping hot. I would get them to make a hamburger, just a plain hamburger, get all the ingredients on it, get home as quick as you can, or do it in the parking lot, eat the patty, and you could probably just use ketchup packets or mayonnaise packets to top it up, and you could make this in your car. Yes, it would be a little bit more expensive, but you're essentially creating the same thing. In short, this is fucking stupid. But hey, for $1.27 or $2, you really can't beat that price. It's like getting a small fry with a side of carbs. So there you have it, you stupid bastards. So this one's kind of weird. This one comes from IFLscience.com, and doctors diagnosed the first case of a woman who pisses alcohol. So doctors have reported the first known case of a woman who urinates alcohol after a never-before-seen condition effectively turned her bladder into a microbrewery. Reporting the unusual case in the Annals of Internal Medicine, the condition came to light when doctors at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center Presbyterian Hospital were examining a 61-year-old woman for placement on the liver transplant wait list. The woman was suffering from liver chorus, or I'm not even sure whether I'm saying that right, and diabetes, illnesses often associated with alcoholism and heavy alcohol use. However, she claimed she rarely touched alcohol. Doctors were understandably skeptical about this claim at first because her urine tests for alcohol were repeatedly positive. Multiple doctors also advised her to seek treatment for alcohol use disorder, but she continued to insist she had not had anything to drink. Then some of the clinic staff noted that the urine test resulted in urethral glucinide and urethral sulfate, substances produced by the breakdown of ethanol alcohol, were negative. Equally, her blood tests came back negative for ethanol. This meant the alcohol was not in her bloodstream, so she didn't report feeling drunk or intoxicated. The strange set of circumstances eventually led to the doctors to take a closer look at her pee. They discovered the woman's bladder had become colonized with a strain of yeast called, not pronouncing it, good luck. It's a fungus that's a part of the normal human flora that's closely related to brewer's yeast. They took samples of the yeast, placed it in a petri dish under certain conditions, and watched whether it could ferment, and lo and behold, the sample produced alcohol. It appears the woman's bladder had effectively acted like a boozy brewery. To make alcohol, whether it's beer or hard liquor, you need water and sugar. Paired with yeast and an absence of oxygen, the can't pronounce this word, aerobotic, maybe, make the yeast ferment the sugars in the ethanol and carbon dioxide. The woman's urine contained sugar as a symptom of her poorly controlled diabetes. Paired with the yeast that had colonized her bladder, the conditions were ideal for fermentation and the production of alcohol. I think the biggest reason for the patient to develop this condition is her poorly controlled diabetes, because the bladder environment with high levels of glucose is definitely an optimistic condition for the growth and activity of this yeast, says Kenshi Tamara, a study author and associate professor of pathology, told IFL Science. So yeah, that's really weird. it's kind of amazing what the human body can do given a unique set of circumstances with it. Can't imagine this being fun. Can't imagine that being fun coming out. I wonder if it burns. Because, well, I guess she's 61 years old. And as a guy who is diabetic, don't fuck with that stuff. So hopefully she gets sorted out. I'm just going to do a little bit more reading here. I mean, she's just gotta just take better care of herself. And at 61 years old, man, you don't got a whole hell of a lot of time left. So just be smart. So the next story, this one kind of surprised me. So you know how you see in movies, everybody has a smartphone now, be it an Android or an iPhone, or in the rare case, like a Huawei or something, either way, or some Chinese knockoff. So Apple evidently bans bad guys from using iPhones in movies, according to Rian Johnson, the guy who directed Knives Out and The Last Jedi. So Apple rules over its brand with an iron fist, according to Gizmodo, and that extends to the silver screen. In a Vanity Fair interview, Rian Johnson revealed that Apple won't let villains and bad guys use iPhones on screen. It's kind of cool. The revelation came part of Vanity Fair's Notes on a Scene series, in which filmmakers break down scenes and share anecdotes from their latest projects. In the video, Johnson is just starting to explain a fraught family bickering session in Knives Out, in which he notes the iPhone in actress's Jamie Lee Curtis's hand. I don't know if I should say this or not, because not like it's lascivious or anything. Pretty not sure whether I said that right or not. Sue me. Or something, but because it's going to screw me on the next mystery movie that I have to write, Apple, they'll let you use iPhones in movies, and this is very pivotal. If you're ever watching a mystery movie, bad guys cannot have iPhones on camera. So, oh no, every single filmmaker that has a bad guy in their movie that's supposed to be a secret, wants to murder me right now. So yeah, that's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting. Apple is notorious for how its devices are portrayed in media. You might remember years of TV shows in which characters are clearly using MacBooks, only to have the iconic Apple logo on the lids covered by some sort of sticker. It's also a common trope that bad guys use Android while good guys use iPhones. According to Mac Rumors and Wired, the spy show 24 also reinforced bad guys using Windows versus good guys using Apple devices. Part of that might stem from Apple's guidelines for trademarks and copyrights. Under the section on compatibility, the guidelines state Apple product is shown only in the best light in a manner or context that reflects favorably on the Apple products and on Apple Inc. That's not insane to say. I mean, yeah, I can't recall a single time I've ever seen a bad guy using anything remotely like it. Maybe iPhone-like-ish, probably just enough to scratch off the serial numbers and not getting shit. But, yeah. That's kind of weird. And, like I said, I don't disagree with that. But, in my mind, wouldn't Android be easier to program anyway? If you're going to be like a major terrorist bad dude, you want to blow up a building or something, you want to have a trigger on your phone, I'm presuming it's easier to program. Whereas I've always seen iPhone as the mass market casual phone, and I say that like I love my iPhone 11. It is my lifeblood to the universe. You don't want to see my screen time report. It came up today. I'm thinking, wow, holy shit! I am a 13-year-old girl. And you know what? Totally fine with that. So thank you, Rian Johnson, for that really bizarre bit of trivia that I did not know. All right, so this is my final weird story this week, and this one has tickled the, as you might say, inner scientist in me, as I struggle against the inevitability of science I cannot and will not understand because I am not that smart. So an explosion big enough to fit 15 Milky Way galaxies in a row has been discovered. CNN World reports that the record-breaking explosion originated outside the Orpheus galaxy cluster 390 million light-years away. Experts also say the explosion was likely created by a supermassive black hole. as you guys know, black holes are well known for sucking stuff in and then blowing it out via their ejection disc at the bottom of them, and they shoot it outwards to form a set of jets or beams, like active galactic nuclei or quasars, right, which are at the center of galaxies. So the energy behind this explosion breaks all previous records, beating the previous largest known explosion 5 times over. Astronomers observed the explosion from both ground and space-based telescopes like NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory, the European Space Agency's XMM Newton X-ray Space Observatory, Australia's Merchant Wide Field Array, as the giant meter wave radio telescope located in India. However, the explosions were also noticed several years ago in 2016, but were so large astronomers at the time believed it was too unlikely to be one. It wasn't until now that the X-ray data was combined with radio wavelength data from ground-based telescopes to help confirm the cavity created by the explosive black hole. These observations also tell us that the explosion is no longer occurring as the jet activity has stopped, meaning there is no longer any gas to power the explosion. The subsided explosion isn't all astronomers have been up to recently, because they found like a fast radio burst, which is like unusual radio activity, and it's repeating, pointing at Earth every 16 days or something. So this explosion, they've said, is the biggest thing they've detected since the Big Bang. And I actually had a discussion, weird tangent. I post a lot on the Harry Potter subreddit, and as Ravenclaw, we're encouraged to post things that are interesting. And as you guys know, I have this huge interest in astronomy. And a guy was talking to me about maybe the Big Bang didn't happen. And I remember hearing about this, how the universe may have just always been. Like the universe implodes on itself, like the Big Crunch, which is something that's theorized to happen. Like, it's not proton decay. I forget what the process is, but basically things crush together as over the process of trillions upon eons of time, unfathomable measurements of time. And that is possible. And I said this today too. The science of space and astronomy, it's beautiful, it's majestic in the celestial math that it presents. And for me personally, if I ever believed in a divine creator, science is where I find it. And what do I mean by that? I look at the existence of a galaxy, I think it's M83 or M82, it's something like that. Either way, it's the most distant object we've ever seen with a telescope. It's a galaxy like billions upon billions of light years away or something, or billions of years old. And it gives me hope, because I look at the way we look at the galaxies and the stars and the planets have all formed, and how everything is just right. Everything just works. And occasionally we get weird shit like magnetars or strange matter or strange quarks or strange stars or strangelets. And look this shit up on YouTube. It is really, really interesting. And a strangelet would be a really bad thing to come walking through our neighborhood at some point. Or wandering black holes or rogue planets. Anyway, getting off topic. But yeah, just thinking about this explosion, 390 million light years away, 15 Milky Way galaxies across. Wow. That would, I kind of hope they present more of this data as time goes on. What would happen? Obviously, there's nothing we can do about it. It's at such a galactic scale. It's you can't even kiss your ass goodbye. You're vaporized, or whatever happens, or just it's a big burst of radiation, or whatever it is. It's fascinating stuff. And because I watch a lot of sci-fi, like Stargate, Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever, I find this stuff immensely interesting. So I do think that's neat, and the fact that it was confirmed by so many ground and space-based telescopes at the same time, that's cool shit. So that's weird. That's awesome. Isn't science freaking cool? So anyway, we're going to take a break here and go from the land above and beyond space, you might say, to someplace a little bit different. This is my review of Warhammer Fantasy Role-Playing from Cubicle 7. His Imperial Majesty calls your attention today, my friends, and it is I, Mike the Birdman Dodd, here to give you yet another RPG review. This one coming to us from our friends over at Cubicle 7, and we're going to be talking about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the 4th edition of the book. I was sent a copy of this game for review via PDF, and this is a universe I've actually always heard about for years. It's like, and I've always associated it with like tabletop mini wargaming and like Warhammer, like other properties, and like people painting minis, spending ridiculous amounts of money I could never afford. And when I found out there was a tabletop version, I've always been curious because I've had friends who've worked on this line, but I've never checked out their work. So when I got sent this by Cubicle 7 a little while ago, I went into this knowing relatively nothing. And I'm kind of glad that I did that, other than the fact it was an incredibly deadly fantasy world, very grim dark, if you will. And what I got here was, well, definitely grimdark. I mean, there is room for humor and whatnot if you want to do that. But I do like what I've seen so far. So the world, such as it is the world of Reichland. And it's like a huge continent. There's like different like provinces. There's like elves, wood elves, dwarves, halflings, humans, of course, and there's like different types of monsters that hide in the rivers and in the forests. And basically, it's a world fraught with corruption and chaos magic. Only certain people can use magic. I don't think like any of the non-humanoid races pretty much can use, like, I think dwarves can't use magic, or halflings, but it's a world that's very fleshed out if you want it to be. And I like that. One of the things that I really like about this game that I've read through is it's a complete game in one book. You don't need the other supplements to really kind of enjoy what you have on your hands here. So when I was reading this book is like well over 300 pages, if I'm right. I'm actually just very quickly going to look at my PDF. Yeah, this book is 352 pages. So not exactly light reading for you. However, if you're going to play this as a part of your regular roleplay group, I really would recommend that everybody have a copy of this book on hand, because the game can be taught by one person, but you'll benefit by being able to very quickly look up the rules should you need to. However, it basically boils down to this. It's played with a couple of D10s, and you have certain success thresholds to hit, either high or low. And it's basically roll under your skill level, and certain modifiers may do that up or down. Usually plus 60 if something's really easy, or minus 30 if something really sucks. And it can be incredibly deadly. If I did have one quibble with it, is character creation is a little weird. Like, I had to read through it a few different times to really kind of comprehend it. So having someone who knows the game or can really dedicate the time to learning the nuances of it, I think you'll get a lot more out of it. But if you're willing to roll random, you are rewarded with that via XP, and that's nice. That kind of reminds me of R. Talsorian, where you do things randomly. It's kind of like a life path table, and there's like different classes, careers, like how much stuff you get, what you can do. Career advancement is kind of weird. I've never seen it done like this before. Although if you really wanted to be the greatest, like, lawyer or like alchemist or apothecary in the Empire, you can do that and still be a relatively low level character. It allows for more customization, I think, because I have not played this with any of my group just because we're scattered across Canada right now. But reading through the book, I do like what I've read. I think this is a fascinating world. But it is very daunting to get into. However, though, that being said, it is a complete game in one book. And the thing that I think will really make people happy is if you look at the other things, like the other stuff, there are like extra like campaign settings. There is like a starter set which does give you like pre-made characters, like a map, 10 scenarios, stuff like that, new locations, and it's fairly small. But the main book is probably where you want to do it. I mean, especially if you're a guy who has a lot of imagination, I don't think you have a lot to like kind of worry about here. There is a huge collector's edition. There's like a pre-order for it right now, and it's like $600. So you better love you some Warhammer. But if you just want to get the base game itself, it's like $49.99 in British pounds. I don't know what that works out to in Canadian, but I like the idea of this. I like the idea of having fantasy that isn't Dungeons and Dragons. I like the idea where the game isn't necessarily balanced. And I'm not saying that to be, this is a criticism of the game. I'm saying that because some people or some races just may have an advantage than others, but it all boils out in the end anyway, right? Because there is like fate plays a very big part in this game, and that is explained in the book. So you can buy yourself out of trouble only so many times, but still. There is so much to kind of appreciate here, and if you're willing to craft campaigns around like political intrigue, like there's like levels for like status in here too, which is nice that they take that into effect. Like the more good you are at something, the more well known you are, the better people know you and respect you. So I think that has something to say. I also like, there's one really weird job class. I think it's kind of cool. You play what is essentially a fancy exterminator known as like a rat catcher. But there's like your traditional like fighters and bounty hunters and like wizards and whatnot, like hedge witches. But it's a cool world, and I really do recommend Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, but know you are getting into a daunting world. The system is very crunchy, but once you get the hang of the actual mechanics of the game itself, once you get through character creation and understand how character advancement works, I think you are in for a bit of a treat here. And hey, maybe this will lead you into the war game as well, because I know that's still tremendously popular. I think there's still games workshops around me right now. So look around, check this game out from Cubicle 7, and I don't think you'll be disappointed with the choice you make.
You want to see something strange and mystical?
No! Get out of here with that watch! Lay off the poor beavers, will you? Jeez! You're a creep! Go away! We're having a good time until you showed up, jeepers! Go have some coffee with cream or something! Because I'll tell you something! This is a happy place!
And we've come to the conclusion of yet another trip down the Twig rabbit hole, such as it is for this first week of March. And it was been a pretty good show. I do say so myself, having to do this solo. It's kind of nice every now and again, although you can hear my voice kind of giving out. Obviously, I'm probably coming down with something. Blair's a little bit sick, so hopefully it won't affect my voice this week, because speaking of coming up on the show this week, we are going to be doing, I think, a Future Imperfect. We're going to recap the next few episodes of Star Trek Picard. We should be doing some more Future Imperfects. Speaking of that, me and Alex have been talking about launching another podcast, and we talked about it briefly last week. We are probably going to be launching a comic book podcast within the next month or so. We're just trying to get the stars aligned. We do have a co-host in mind, and this person evidently has a vast variety of knowledge. So we'll probably be doing that in the next little bit. And I was also talking with Alex about doing sort of like a film club podcast as well. And we'll probably be focusing on cheesy 80s and 90s direct to video action movies, and just kind of sharing that stupid love of that canon activity there, just because I think those movies are so dumb. Talking about like Delta Force, American Ninja, Michael Dudikoff, Mario Van Peebles, that sort of stupid shit. I think that'd be tremendously fun. It's like 2 hours out of my week. Who cares? And I just think that would be really fun. I know a long time ago, I talked with a friend of mine about the Harry Potter franchise, and I'd almost like to talk about Harry Potter again, just because it is so fresh in my mind right now. And the reason I bring it up again, because I've talked about it several times during this podcast, I'll give you guys a hint of something that I've been working on. This is really friggin' neat. So, while browsing the Reddit, I found this. There's a conversion for D&D 5th edition called Wands and Wizards, and it's Harry Potter D&D. And I had this really neat idea, calling it Neon Wands, and try to picture Harry Potter happening during the 1980s. Voldemort has been destroyed. As far as I know, he goes down on Halloween 1981. So the Death Eaters are in hiding, or they're rising to power to get their Dark Lord back. London and the British culture is changing. There's the fall of the Berlin Wall will eventually happen. The Cold War tensions are still there. Consumerism is rising. You got New Coke, acid wash jeans, Billy Idol, Motley Crue, the Police. Like, you have all these cultural cool things going on right now. And how would the wizarding world react to it? So, to that in mind, I've been in contact with the developers of this to maybe put this down as a campaign scenario and kind of write things out. Now, I'm not a guy who follows a lot of rules. I can do fluff like nobody's business. I'm a fluffer, you might say. And I've been kind of looking at it. So what I might do, and I'm not committing to anything fully yet, though I kind of am and kind of not, because I want to do this project justice, and I want to approach this like a college thesis. And that includes doing primary research, secondary research, consulting essays, documentaries, and probably even some interviews along the way to create what I would consider to be a good work. And I'm kind of basing it off of 90s source books from like Shadowrun or Vampire the Masquerade, just in terms of layout anyway. Not like the topography or anything. I'll fucking pay someone to do that, because I am not working with Adobe InDesign. You couldn't pay me enough to touch that program again. But I think the idea is fairly solid. So sort of like Stranger Things meets Harry Potter. And I've talked to a few friends about it, and I've even posted about it in a few different places. And people seem really excited for this. They're like, man, can you develop this sooner? I'm thinking, I'll try. And I think because one of the things I'm doing this year is I'm learning a lot about self-care. I've really, since I did the interview with Kate Wiswell last week, which I really hope you guys have had a chance to listen to, and I've purchased her book, Full Frontal Nudity. Nerdity, not nudity. Sorry, Kate, sorry. It's something that I want to do for me to get back in touch with my roots, to take care of me, to be well upstairs and without, because I am going through a major transformative change as a person, and that means certain things have to be stoked, certain needs have to be fulfilled. And creatively, I have my outlet here at TWIG, and with you, my listeners and my friends, I want to do something that is interesting. So maybe by the end of the year, I'll have something. I'm hoping to start next month. Like I said, I've got to read the books. I'm going to need to take notes. And I want to take notes properly. Like, I want to have this, like, names, dates, references, page numbers, stuff like that. Like, I'm almost willing to buy a set of books that I can take a highlighter to and use those little bookie tab things you see people do. And, you know, treat this like a college thesis. I've written one in my life. It was like 50 pages, and I got like a B on it, or an A. I don't remember. Either way, I did really good on it, and the teachers were surprised. I was one of the only people that ever wrote about podcasting. And I think that might be my big creative outlet this year, because I'm looking at the way I approach fandoms, and I think of it like this. Star Wars burned me hard last year, and you all know how I feel about Rise of Skywalker. In fact, I actually got into it with a friend's boyfriend about like a week ago, and it really got me mad. But it got me thinking. I look at how well The Mandalorian treated me, and Rebels, and Clone Wars, and even some of the comics are treating me. Although that Rise of Skywalker novelization that comes out in a few weeks can pure go fuck itself. Palpatine was a clone all along. Wow, this is great value, Dark Empire. We just took the serial numbers off. Hope you enjoy the great piss taste we're serving you. But I digress. The point I'm trying to get at is I'm finding love within a fandom that Blair enjoys. Like we sat there and debated house philosophies the other night. How does this work? How does the Wizarding World accomplish X? And I've always enjoyed my fantasy and my fantastic by understanding how it works. For example, my love of Power Rangers is greatly increased by the Boom Studios comics because they explain the Morphin Grid, the Morphin Masters, the relationships between the characters. If you tell me the how and why something works, I'm more interested. Like, I can tell you how an X-Wing works. I can tell you how a lightsaber and the Kyber crystal connect. I can explain to you the difference between a DL-44 blaster and, I can't remember, like the Rebel Trooper blaster, something, the DL-18. I can tell you the differences between Mandalorian armor, between Beskar steel, Durasteel plate, the Mandalorian Death Watch, and stuff like that. I can tell you about 20 different Stormtrooper variants and how they're effective in different environments. That makes Star Wars enjoyable to me. I want Harry Potter to do the same. And I know there's Pottermore, which explains a fair chunk of it. So I'm really willing to put myself into this project because I think it's really going to help me mentally to give myself focus. And as someone, and this kind of relates to mental health too, they say with bipolar, having focus and a routine is helpful. And this might be very therapeutic for me. I'm not saying this is going to get me in with any major publisher, because the fact that no one has licensed the Harry Potter stuff to an RPG by now blows my mind. But again, it comes down to creative control. Like, I often wondered for years, why is there no Mass Effect RPG? Why do you let Dragon Age be one? I don't know. They're both BioWare properties, right? If you had to ask me which one I'd want, I think you guys know the answer. It's on my right arm. So this is kind of what I want to do. I've often expressed the desire to be an RPG writer, but I don't want to do rules. I hate math. I hate it. I hate hacking math, but I can give you ideas. So maybe scenarios, maybe that's where my strength lies. Maybe this is a test. Maybe I'll fall flat on my face. And maybe I won't. I think regardless, I'm going to learn something about myself. And I think I'm going to learn to become a little bit closer with my friends, like Blair, who enjoy it. I've already made some wonderful friends because of this fandom. Because I've been putting together Blair's gift over the last few weeks for our anniversary, I'm learning little things about it too. And I haven't fallen in love with a property like this since Star Wars or Doctor Who. And it feels nice. It feels warming. It's welcoming. And big shout out to the Harry Potter subreddit. You people are great. I've been in Ravenclaw for like a week now. I already have 25 points for my house. Yeah, I went that far. I'm that dork. So I guess, guys, thank you for letting me rant here at the end of the show. So enjoy the show coming up this week. I thoroughly enjoyed putting it together to you as a solo show. So until next time, as I'm often fond of saying, live free or die hard. And as my friend Jackie Bam Bam might say, be cool, be kind, be careful. I'll catch you guys again next time, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Well, that's our show. All right, here's the deal. Every time you watch my show, I will send you $40.
Checks will not be honored.
You've been listening to This Week in Geek, your source for guaranteed nonsense or your money back. Tune in next week for more info on the most important things you didn't need to know. Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net and subscribe to our podcast through iTunes or any podcatcher. If you'd like to comment on this episode, head over to this episode's post at ThisWeekInGeek.net and leave a comment through Facebook Connect. Follow us on Twitter at ThisWeekInGeek.net and follow our Instagram at twig_official_podcast. Social media not your thing? Send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. We'll see you next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
Just when you think this show is terrible, something wonderful happens.
What?
It ends.
I have to go. Somewhere there is a crime happening.